Erin is a young woman. She is a feminist. She's an environmental activist. She started her own NGO many years ago, started out her activism as a 13-year-old, started out Turning Green, an activism young NGO, and she realised that you've got to go beyond non-geopolitics. You have to actually get into politics to change the rules. And that is precisely what she's doing. She is running for Congress as a 25-year-old. How good is that? Running for the 2nd Congressional District in California. She is going to make a very big difference, and I have absolutely no doubt that she is going to make it into politics at some point, if not this time, then a later time. But this is activism in action. So I give you Erin Schrode. Congratulations, Erin.
Environmental stewardship begins with each and every one of us. And 6 years ago, an 18-year-old version of myself stood before the first One Young World and said I wasn't waiting for corporate responsibility. I wasn't waiting for governments to take action, that it was about individual responsibility and to go home and make it happen. Well, this story starts a few years before that. I'm going to rewind 25 years with you today, when my mom was pregnant with me, and she read a book called Diet for a Poisoned Planet, and literally in one day transformed our home. By the time my father had returned from work, organic food was in. Bulk goods were in. Chemical cleaning products and plastic were out. I grew up going to the farmer's market every Sunday, doing beach cleanups. I am from Northern California, from Marin County. We have the highest concentration of organic farms anywhere on Earth. That was my reality. But 13 years later, a study came out that this place where I was raised had the highest breast, prostate, and melanoma cancer rates in the world. And no one knew why. And there wasn't enough money to do the testing. And I read a study that linked the ingredients in the products I was using every day. Soap, shampoo. Who used soap today? Well done, guys. Okay, soap, shampoo, deodorant, toothpaste. Link the ingredients in those products to cancer, birth defects, and reproductive harm, to toxins in our bodies and the planet. And that didn't sit right with my 13-year-old self. And so we organized the first meeting to put out this information to young people. The response was universal. What do you mean no one is looking out for public and environmental health? What do you mean there's no government regulation? What can we do? And it's that third question that's the beauty in the naivete of youth. That is how we approach problems in a different way. Bob Geldof told us all to be unreasonable people years ago. That was unreasonable to go up against a multi-billion-dollar industry as a bunch of ragtag young people. But we did it. And we didn't stop there, looking at personal care and then looking at textiles and the impact of the textile industry on the global level, which is the second most polluting after oil on Earth. And using school campuses as a palette for exploration to look into food service and janitorial and landscaping. And talking about waste. The fact that the average American produces 4.6 pounds of waste every single day. And so this movement grew. It's now an 11-year-old nonprofit called Turning Green, of which I'm the proud co-founder. But I struggled with this idea of being an environmental activist. How could I tell people what food to eat, what to drink their water out of, what to put in their homes when people don't have food, water, and shelter? And about that same time, I went to the first One Young World conference as an 18-year-old. And on night one, much like you guys last night, was on a bus going back home talking to my peers from places all around the world who said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm an environmental activist." They said, "What?" I said, "I'm an environmental activist." I was really nervous to talk about that. when these people were delving into issues of poverty and interfaith violence and political corruption on this huge level that seemed so much more important than what I was doing in California or across the US. And they said, tell us about these programs. And I started to delve into these very tangible programs that we were creating for people, for young people. And I said, we need that. We need to activate our young people to do that, to be the change, to start young. And I came to realize that these issues of natural resources, of conservation, of waste, know no boundaries, regardless of geography or socioeconomic class or background. And I came to own that position better as an environmental activist. That no longer scared me. And I came back and I worked on a number of projects across the US, delving into agriculture, sustainable agriculture. We launched a school food program that is 100% fresh, local, organic, seasonal ingredients that serves a population where 95% of the kids qualify for free and reduced lunch. It comes in within budget and surpasses nutritional requirements. I went to West Africa. I studied abroad in Ghana and created recycling infrastructure there in public schools because I saw these plastic water sachets all over the ground littering. And I said, somebody's got to be doing something. Sure enough, a man had started a social enterprise that was picking those up, stitching them back into new bags. And I said, where's your education component? And we built that out with young people. I worked on the first curriculum for the Environmental Education Center that was set to launch in the Palestinian Authority to bring together Israeli, Palestinian, and Jordanian youth around issues of shared natural resources. And everyone said, Erin, this is great. You're doing all these projects. It's awesome. I feel like I can make some impact. Just because I cannot do everything does not mean I will not do something. But I came to see this need for systemic change, for policy change, if we want to really see lasting, sustainable impact. And about 2 months ago, I gave a speech. And the through line was, if not here, where? Right? That proverbial question we ask ourselves. If not now, when? If not us, who? If not here, where? Talking about Northern California and the impact of that place, very much like this place, on my values, on my upbringing, on my professional path. And I walked off stage and people said, how do we get you to run for office? And I smiled, and I laughed, and I hemmed, and I hawed. Sure, I'd worked on policy change around toxins, around waste, around green chemistry at the county, state, and federal level. But I don't fit the mold of what I think of as a politician. And I started to talk to friends and mentors in this space, and they said, yes, we need you to run. We need that voice in government today. Sure, there are a million reasons why you could wait, perhaps why you should wait, but why not run while you wait? Imagine the light you can shed on the issues that matter most to you, to your generation. So, I laid out very specific metrics of success for myself, knowing that the chances of winning a seat in United States Congress, filing a week and a half before the deadline at age then 24 as a woman was very, very difficult. So I thought about the idea of redefining civic engagement, of reinvigorating a culture of public service, and expanding the definition of who can be a politician. I sought out ways to add value to society through the very act of running. And one of those was outlining very specific pillars around environmental and public health. So we talk a lot about climate mitigation, about preparing for a changing climate. What about climate reversal? What about policies around sequestration of greenhouse gases? I'm kind of obsessed with this thing called soil, called dirt, and the ability to use it, the largest, most cost-effective carbon sink we have on Earth, and how we can incentivize farmers to better utilize that. How we can implement comprehensive toxins reform, which we haven't seen in our country since the 1970s, to protect particularly the most vulnerable populations, women, children, low-income families. And so we have launched this campaign, I am running for United States Congress in California's 2nd Congressional District because the decisions being made today will disproportionately affect us. And for us, for our generation, the impacts of climate change are not far off. They're here. Where is our voice at that decision-making table in a country where 51% of our population is female and 35% is under age 30? There has never been a woman under 30 elected to national office. So I'm trying to shift that. We're trying to change the tides. Thank you. And when I think about the people who I respect most, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Wangari Maathai, these individuals who have changed history, they did not wait for someone to deem them ready or to assume some position of formal authority. They commanded moral authority. They earned that respect. We need more people to do that, but in a time when too many of us are being excluded, ignored, and discriminated against, when our people are being poisoned and our fragile planet is in peril, we need also to run for political office. And that is why a 25-year-old environmental activist is running for Congress.